You have met me already on these calls and other job seeking calls. I'm Sue Griffey, known as Sue Mentors. That's the consultancy I run. It's global. I work with global professionals in transition in the US and across the globe. What it means is that I get to learn from you all, as well as learning from the people I work with, what is the norm, for example, internationally, where they talk more about professional branding than personal branding. But believe me, it all blends in. It's just nuances. But I'm also the mentor with Pom Poms. And on this, you'll see me celebrating everything we can celebrate. And I try very hard to help be Linda in the chat box and provide information for those of you who maybe have missed things as you're trying to catch up on, excuse me, what's being said on the screen. But also, and this is a tip I tell people all the time, you can get known and noticed for contributing your expertise on job searching, on your situation, on what you heard in the chat box too. So I'm going to put in my connection information, love to connect, but also follow along and try to make a salient comment or two, and people will start seeing you as a contributor in the chat. Now, I know you also need to be listening as well, but a lot of you have expertise. I just heard an exchange before we got on about, oh, I'm better at this or I'm better at that. Go ahead and help us see you in a different light besides the introductions you put in. Thanks, Linda. I know I took a little more time, but I like to remind people what we try to do for each other. Thanks.
No, I appreciate that, Sue, because that was perfect. And that's a great segue into what we're doing today. So the chat is really what we're going to talk about today is how do you do this networking? How do you make yourself visible? How do you make yourself that expert in these kinds of meetings, whether it's an interview, whether it's a meeting like this one, whether you're doing a LinkedIn Live, okay, and you're participating in the audience, whether you're doing something on LinkedIn and you're making comments, the idea is no matter what it is, you have the opportunity to showcase you, what you do, who you are, and what makes you the expert. And that's really what we're all about today. So go ahead and start putting some information in the chat. And at the same time, you know that we always start these meetings with some quick wins. Everybody has some. So if you've got a quick win, please raise your hand and let us showcase you. Okay. Eric, can you come on camera?
I've had my video on. I'm not sure why it's not showing.
Okay.
I had an interview yesterday with Booz Allen
Ooh.
for a full-time role. And I'm not sure how it went, but I'll find out in the next day or two. And also acquired my certified Scrum Master certification last Thursday just to get it. So
Two fantastic things. That's great. So for those of you who don't know what a Scrum Master is, can you explain what that is? Because that's a huge certification.
you want me to do that?
I do.
It's kind of like a project manager on a Scrum team. They basically facilitate the software development through the Scrum team by having meetings every day and reviewing the board of work and getting updates from the team, and also facilitating some ceremonies throughout the week and at the end of the sprint to make sure everything's working as should be and finding out how they can make things better for the team as they move forward.
So one of the things that's good about Scrums, that Scrum Master certification, is that it used to be just IT related, but it is now used in so many different areas. It's a great tool for somebody who wants to move into project management, wants to showcase those skills. So congratulations, that's great. Keep us posted on the interview.
Will do.
TJ.
Yeah, I have two irons in the fire. I had a phone screen, and then I have a recruiter that I'm back and forth going through, but the job doesn't start till January 6th, so it is kind of going to be a slow process on that one.
But at least it started, and that's a good thing.
Yes, and I'll have to get a security clearance, which is something new.
Okay. Those take a little while, but what's nice about them is that once you get them, they seem to transfer much more easily.
Okay.
It's easier to get if you have one, it's easier to get another one. Good, congratulations.
Thank you.
Chat.
Yeah, so I had a former colleague reach out to me a couple days ago to let me know that she needed some help with some freelance work for some e-learning projects. So I'm gonna meet with her tomorrow to get some of the details, but for the time being, at least I'll be able to pick up some income doing that work.
That's great. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago, that whole idea of those freelance, those fractional, those contract kinds of roles. Picking up anything you can is a great way of not only adding to your skill set, adding to your experience, but it also helps you to continue to demonstrate that expertise that we want you to have. Okay, making yourself known, liked, valued. Okay, that person that people want to reach out to. Fantastic. Now, how did she find you?
Because she reported to me for a decade, left the company a few years ago, kind of sort of be a team of one at a new company, and then just knew that, I potentially was available, because I was open to work. So she reached out to me on the off chance I would have some free time to help her out.
Fantastic. By the way, if somebody reaches out to you and you can't do what they want, or you don't want to do what they want, make sure you always give them someone else to talk with. That idea of being able to share the wealth, if you will, okay, making yourself as a resource, not only for the job or for whatever that opportunity is, but also to give them added resources now makes you more valuable to them as well. Because
But I might
now
not,
I'm sorry?
I might not have a name to give them. I might not know anybody else they could talk to.
You
And I
may
probably
not,
don't.
but if you do, it's a great way to do it.
Ah,
Okay. And by the
Okay.
way, here's another use for that private group. If somebody comes across an opportunity and it's not right for you, share it in the private group, because you never know who else might have those kinds of resources, that experience, who might be interested in that kind of role. And if you don't know what the private group is, let me talk about that real quick, and then we'll keep going with some of these wins. But the private group is a LinkedIn group that we've set up. Now, what it means in terms of a private group is you can't search for it and find it. The only way you can join that group is if you either get invited or you ask to join, you've registered for these programs, and we let you in. The advantage of a LinkedIn private group is that anything you say there stays there, which means you can ask your questions, you can ask for support, you can ask for advice, you can vent a little bit if you need to. But nobody else on LinkedIn will see what you've written. We're up to almost 200 and actually almost 300 people in that group right now. And so it's the idea of being able to share with people who are going through what you're doing. I will put the link into the chat so that you can join us. We would love to have you there. It really is a great way of being able to share that information, ask for support and guidance. Okay. Anyone else have a quick win? Looking for there we go. Good morning, afternoon. Can you unmute? There you go.
Hello.
Hello.
So my name is Zehra. I am sort of new to this team. So in terms of my updates, I've been going through, some interviews. There are a couple of different options surfacing up. I have a unique background in terms of, having both the technical background as well as marketing experience more recently. So I started to receive different type of interview requests, if you will. So I am evaluating those. I already had an interview for a technical role, so which will continue next week, as well as a marketing role with a smaller company. which will also proceed next week with further, conversations. And so I'm excited at least that, there are some couple of things that are moving in the right direction.
That's wonderful. Congratulations. Keep us posted.
Yes, I will. Thank you.
Uh-huh. Deb Gates.
Hi, good morning. My name is Deb Gates. I'm in the Chicago suburbs. I had a third interview with a local company yesterday for a lower level position than what I've done because it's a pivot. So I'm actually kind of excited for that. It's still in the HR realm, but it's a pivot. But on the flip side, I also, and I can't remember if I told this or not, but I was fingerprinted and accepted to be a substitute teacher in our local high school. So until orientation for that's still going to be a few weeks away, but it's decent money while I'm still looking for HRTA recruiting type opportunities. So
Absolutely.
here's to
Congratulations.
trying.
So on both opportunities. So a couple of things, one of which is if you're looking for that part-time, you need a little bit of cash coming in, subbing, if you've got a bachelor's degree in almost any state, you don't have to have a teaching degree, you need a bachelor's degree. And getting that substitute license can cost you anywhere, depending upon the state, from about $50 to $150. But it is an incredibly useful opportunity. It lets you continue to work on your schedule, bringing in some cash, as well as the idea that because it's on your schedule, you can continue to say yes or no for those opportunities when you want them to. It does not interfere with your job search in any way. So if you're looking for that additional kind of a resource, I recommend looking into that. And I will tell you that in almost every jurisdiction in the country, they are looking for subs. In my current district, okay, at home, I think they've got over 100 different sub opportunities that are out there with all of the districts that are there. So it's a very easy thing to do if you can choose to do it. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. The other thing is that when Deb talked about taking a step back, I'm going to ask you to reframe that, because it's not a step back, it's a step to the side.
A pivot is what I called it.
Yep, that's exactly what it is. But think about it that way in terms of your own framing it for yourself as well. You're not taking a step back, you're taking a step to the side. You're exploring different opportunities, different pathways, and those can grow in so many different ways as you build on them in your career. So I actually like the idea of taking those steps to the side. I think they're a very useful way of broadening not only your opportunities, but trying to explore what other kinds of things you really want to do. So I think it's great. Congratulations, Deb. Keep us posted. Anyone else have a quick win? Okay, just looking at my screen here. Okay. So before we get started actually on the topic today, I want to talk, every once in a while I do, if you've come to these before, you know that I do a cracked crystal ball approach. Okay, a little bit, here's what I'm seeing in the job market. And I wanted to do that very quickly right now because we're seeing some mixed signals again. And not that we haven't seen them before, but here's some of the things that I'm seeing. We're getting to the point in the year where companies are really trying to reevaluate what their finances, what their budgets, what their job forecasts are going to be looking like for the beginning of the year. Now, that's not a bad thing. What that means is that as they're evaluating that, you're going to hopefully see more people who are posting real jobs, looking to hire those for the beginning of the calendar year, just as TJ was talking about. So in many cases at this time of the year, the jobs that you see are going to be the real jobs that they're really trying to hire. Part of that is budgetary. We know that if you've got a position budgeted, if you don't fill it before the end of the year, you may lose it. So you're going to see some increased activity there. But it's also the idea that companies are trying to put those strategic plans in place for the beginning of the year. Now, that said, I have to backtrack just a little bit, pivot to the side, is that what we're also seeing is that companies are trying to still, unfortunately, do a little bit of filling of the pipeline. They're putting the information out there. We know we'd like to hire, so we're going to see who might be available when we're ready. Okay, you're right, David. Not a great situation. The idea is when they're doing that, they're trying to build their network up, their base, but by the time they get ready to hire, you may no longer be available, and the jobs that they're trying to fill may no longer be the same jobs that they were talking about. It doesn't mean you shouldn't apply. It means understand that there may be that kind of a push and pull. Okay, some jobs they're really trying to hire right now, and you're going to see those moving forward more quickly, and some they're just filling that pipeline. Unfortunately, we can't get employers to say this is a pipeline job. And so that puts the problem, the onus on us as to what's going on and what's not. So just be aware, I would say continue to apply. The other thing is that you're starting to see more layoffs again across the board. And that's not a good thing. Now, those often happen at the end of the year, my cracked crystal ball says. But by the same token, we're seeing them in industries where we might not have seen them before. So do be aware of that. I think that there is going to be a correction once people decide what those jobs need to look like. But what it means is when you find that job that you're interested in, it is ever more important when you're sending your information in, target it. Don't just send in a blank. It's not a spray and pray, guys. There are too many people who are doing exactly the same thing. Show them how you match them right up front. It also means you need to do more of the networking and even more of the building yourself up as that subject matter expert. You want them to know who you are, what you can do beyond just that idea of that job application. Okay. So that's my cracked crystal ball for today. Questions before we move forward?
Linda, I forgot to raise my hand. I just unmuted. I'm glad you emphasized about layoffs because I watch this on a quarterly basis. I talk about the changing nature of work. And we're going to see lots of layoffs, and then there are going to be some in the new year. And most of them are financial in the sense of when to take gains and profit in for-profit companies primarily. But the other thing that you were all on shifting sands. We're all on shifting sands a few years ago as we started to see the emergence of AI really becoming something that began to be able to help people in their jobs. So I actually have been seeing some corrections in layoffs where they had to rehire people because what they thought AI could do wasn't possible. I'm just bringing this up, and I think we talked about this a couple times in various settings, and you'll see posts about this. You have to be able to also explain how and in what way, without leading with AI, you've incorporated AI-related work for efficiencies. How have you been more effective and more efficient using whatever may be available? It's within the parameters of many companies because they're also exploring it. But even in the federal government, I saw some job postings at CDC a couple weeks ago where they want to know what you've actually already done. So be aware of that. And that's one way we can decrease the ageism, my many decades of stuff, by saying what I know and what I'm able to do with it. So beyond using it for cover letter, analyzing your company research, all of that, talk about the ways in which you've used it in a job. And if you haven't, talk about what you've been doing that's applicable. Like if you participated in simulations, think about all the courses that are out there, the discussions. I'm sure as I'm talking, Linda, on this subject, I'm realizing, oh, there's some opportunities I've got to start incorporating on how to help people do this beyond the immediate job search.
Absolutely. And you're right. So AI is one of those mixed bags, though, because one of the things we're hearing is that the promise of AI was very strong initially. It's going to do away with all these jobs. We're going to be able to use it here and here and here. And companies are beginning to pull back a little bit. They understand that it is not the be all end all. It's not going to take your jobs. But it is a tool that may be usable in some jobs, not all of them. Okay. But it may be something that's usable. And so learning a little bit about AI is not a bad thing. Okay. However, do not use it for your cover letter. Do not use it for your resume. Okay. Do not use it to write your LinkedIn posts. They need to really be you. AI is a tool to help provide that additional support and resource to give you something to think about, to help perhaps point you in the right direction. But more importantly, what AI is useful for on the job scene is that idea of being able to perhaps automate or give additional resources for some of the other tasks that are out there. So highly recommend, regardless of age, that you take an AI related course of some kind, okay? And LinkedIn offers a number of them. And you can do it on a free LinkedIn trial if you've got it. You can do it through your library. Add something so that you can add that to your profile and to your resume. Every time we learn something new, helps to not only make us more valuable, it makes us less old.
Do you think we would like one basic introductory course in AI be enough, or should one go a ways into it?
I don't know that it depends on the kind of job you're looking for, David, but the
A
idea
data
is,
analyst job.
okay, the idea is to make sure that you at least have one. I'm going to do one too, but
Yeah.
you need to make sure that you've got some information there so that it doesn't look like that foreign body.
Okay.
But often
You
one
know
is
what
enough.
it is and how it works.
Exactly.
Okay. Gotcha.
But remember, AI is a tool. It is not going to substitute for anything that you do, either in job search or on the job. Yes, Charles.
Is it your opinion that do people look at LinkedIn training and or when you took it and say, oh, they just did it right now, or oh, it's LinkedIn training, maybe it's not as comprehensive? Is it really worth sharing that? I know last week you talked about posting that you've taken courses to show that you're continuing your education and you're learnable and educatable. But I guess my question is, do people see value in those particular courses?
It depends on what the course is, actually. So the idea that you're learning anything new is important, okay? Especially if we're trying to counter that whole idea of ageism. So that is important. So if we're talking about whether or not people are looking to see whether or not that one course is enough, it depends on what kind of a course you're taking. If you're taking just an introductory course, that still adds additional information to your toolkit. It still adds something you can add to your resume. It shows that you're keeping up with new changes in technology. So that's a good thing. So yes, even just that one course is not a bad idea.
Okay,
Awesome.
thank you.
You're welcome. I see somebody else's hand up. Jim, you want to come on screen?
Oh, yes. I just wanted to comment, if it's okay, I wanted to share this link. Ken Lang is going to have the latest on AI with George Pace next month. If
Yes,
I
he
may
is.
share that link in the
Please.
chat. Okay.
Okay, so we all support each other. Kenneth Lang is often on these calls as well. He's another job search coach, become a very good friend. Never met him in person, but we've developed a very strong relationship and supporting relationship here. And Kenneth is doing a program next month. If you do put that in the chat, that would be great. George Pace is a great resource in terms of learning all about AI. it's another way of getting there and asking some of those questions and adding some of that information into your toolkit. And I know I'm going to be there. I know that there are going to be some great resources that they're both going to be able to provide. Great. Okay. So now let's talk just a little bit, okay, about how you can use meetings like this, whether it's an online interview, whether it's a networking meeting or anything else, to really help showcase who you are. One of the things, in fact, I'm going to go back to Ken for a minute. He did a post yesterday that I actually disagree with. He put a post out there saying you should not put on that open networking, okay, that open messaging banner. It's not a banner, that open networking setting on your profile. And I disagree with him. One of the things that happens with LinkedIn these days, and LinkedIn gods, please don't listen, is that yes, there is a lot of spam out there. We know that. But we also know that if you're going to be using LinkedIn as that networking tool, trying to connect with other people, either in terms of building your connections, doing some of the networking, asking questions, you need to be able to be contactable. And you need people to be able to not only contact you, you need to be able to contact them. If you have a paid account, you can do that through a limited number of what's called in messages. If you don't have a paid account, then you're kind of stuck. So I highly recommend, and I'm going to put the directions in the private group, that you turn on what's called open messaging. Open messaging means that you're making yourself available to anyone on LinkedIn to send you a message. You want to be contactable. Okay. Otherwise, you're defeating your purpose in terms of reaching out to other people here on LinkedIn. If they can't reach you, you can't reach them, you're kind of stuck. So might it increase the number of spam messages you get? It might. But by the same token, I believe that it is such a valuable resource to have people be able to contact you that I would recommend it. And to me, it's worth dealing with those spam messages, blocking them, reporting them. It's still worth that kind of an idea. Okay. Yes, messages are the biggest source of spam. Absolutely, Scott, you're right. But if you're trying to do some networking, you're trying to reach out to people, you need to have a way for people to contact you. And right now, until LinkedIn deals with that on the other end, you get to make the choice. But for me, and I understand a lot of people are turning off those open messages for that reason, but for those of us who have free accounts, or those of us who are in job search, your goal is to have people be able to contact you and you to be able to contact them. And unfortunately, right now, in spite of the spam, those open messaging settings are still the best way for you to be able to do those. Elena.
Hi.
That's crazy, man.
Can you please, excuse me, guys, would you please mute yourselves unless you're talking? Thank you.
Hi. I wanted to just share. I did test LinkedIn with, I am looking for a job. I did test LinkedIn with having a banner and not having a banner. I have more recruiters contacting me with a banner. And by more recruiters, I do not count recruiters who are,
I
let's
know,
see,
this is just beginning.
Excuse me, guys, would you, I'm going to mute everybody.
I know, same here, but hey, we have
Elena,
to
you're
get
going to
over our
have to,
feeling and
Elena, you're going to have to unmute again. I'm sorry, but I needed to mute everybody
It's
else in the
all right.
background. There you go.
So, and I'm not counting bottom feeders who are just collecting your resumes. I'm talking about legitimate recruiters. Significant. It's more than twice as much. Now, another thing, I did
what
post a job on in our
happens?
group. Please let me know if you have any questions, but that's a legitimate recruiter. I never had a job with him, but I did talk to him and
From somewhere else.
Hello?
Excuse me, guys, please, and I apologize, Elena, I just muted you again. You really have to mute yourselves, please, because we can hear you in the background and it's extremely distracting. So, especially with so many people here, raise your hand when you want to talk. And everybody else, please be muted. So I apologize, Elena, continue.
That's it. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I think you're right. I think that idea of that open to work banner, we've done a lot of research. LinkedIn has done a lot of research. LinkedIn Recruiter has done a lot of research. That open to work banner really does seem to help attract both the networking for your own network as well as recruiters. And we know that when people are doing the job search, when people are using LinkedIn Recruiter, we know that those one of the search criteria is whether or not that open to work banner is on. I highly recommend it if you want to do a test yourself, or what you could do, because we know that one of the things LinkedIn does is it reanalyzes your profile every once in a while. So put it on. You can even take it off for 10 minutes and LinkedIn will automatically reanalyze it, or put it on and take it off for a day if you want to see what's going on, just to bring your profile back to the top of that search engine. But I'm Green Banner all the way, unless you are currently employed, in which case that's another story. But otherwise, yes, I have Green Banner. I think it really works. However, you may have seen recently somebody put together a desperate banner. It's a pink one. I very rarely say do not use that desperate banner, okay? It does nothing for you. It is that very negative feeling about who you are and what you do. It will work against you, not for you. Green banner, yes. Pink desperate banner, please no. Okay. Sorry about that. TJ.
So that open to work, or that open to message, if you leave that off, then you're basically shooting yourself in the foot because then the recruiters can't necessarily get a hold of you.
And that's absolutely right.
And I did notice one thing that's going on right now. They're playing with the hashtags.
Yes. So hashtags, we don't know whether they're going to stay, whether they're going to go. I'm still using some of them. The open to work banner is not considered desperate. Okay, by any means, it is absolutely just putting that in there and saying, here's who I am, what I'm looking for. And I'm seeing some very creative posts right now. Lori did one this morning and I haven't had a chance to comment on it yet. So the idea is to explain who you are and what you do. And when you do enable that open to work banner, LinkedIn automatically gives you a suggested post. Don't use theirs. Go ahead and expand it. Really talk about what you do, what you're looking for, why people should contact you. Make it a post, not just an automatic thing that's out there. But I will tell you that those posts, those open to work banners truly work. Recruiters are looking for them. People who are wanting to network with you are more likely to network with you if you have that open to work banner out there. So I highly recommend it. Yes, Mark.
Hi, Linda. How are you?
Good.
So I'm going to take a different approach here and hear me out. So in my experience, I've turned on and off the open to work banner. And so if it's an employer's market and I'm searching for jobs, in my mind, like I haven't had much experience with recruiters. All I've had is spam. So I'm applying to jobs, right? In my mind, recruiters aren't looking at me. They're looking at job postings. Like why would they proactively reach out to me? I think I answered my own question. Probably because they're looking to get paid. Because I haven't worked with recruiters, so I'm not really familiar with that. In my experience, or in my mind, it's and I'm looking for specific jobs, so this may not pertain to a lot of folks on the call, perhaps. Like I'm looking at, my focus is here, and there's tons of jobs out there that are posted. I don't know if they're real. And so I'm applying and I'm getting some success. I've had a couple interviews, but I feel that I'm not saying the Open to Work banner is not helpful, but I'm getting people asking me about, a franchisee opportunities. It's kind of annoying. It's getting annoying. And so,
and I understand that. And
throw that out there.
That's what we're talking about in terms of some of that spam that's out there. But here's one of the things you can do to help counter that. It's not going to do away with it completely by any means. But the idea is if you are making yourself that expert on LinkedIn, if you're doing more than just having that profile sitting out there, if you're actually engaging in content and you're posting something, even if you're not posting something, you're actually moving a conversation forward in that professional way, making yourself that expert, then you are more likely to get reached out to by people who are interested in the kind of content and the kind of background that you have than just the spam. With the spam, absolutely, it's out there. I'm not going to tell you it's going to go away. LinkedIn hasn't done anything to stop it. I agree. But by the same token, every time you get it, report it, block it. That person won't be able to contact you again. And we're hoping that LinkedIn is going to train itself to block some of those people. You get to make the choice. From my sense as a recruiter, okay, as a hiring manager, as a talent acquisition person, as well as a coach, I think you are more likely to be contacted, even if you're getting a lot of spam. But I want to talk to people that I know are interested in talking with me. And there are two things that are going to do it. One of which is you're telling me that you're interested in new opportunities. That's that banner. But the second is that idea of what kind of content are you putting out there? How are you making yourself that person I really want to talk with? So if you just got a LinkedIn profile out there and it's just static, you're not doing anything with it, you're doing yourself a disservice. It's like posting a resume and saying, come find me. But if you've got it out there and then you're doing some content to go with it, and content doesn't have to be your own posts. It can be salient comments, professional comments on other people's content. That really helps to move you forward. And I will tell you that from my own experience, that I've had several people who were contacted, one specifically who was told in an interview with a CFO or CEO, actually, who said, by the way, I've seen some of the stuff you posted on LinkedIn, and that's why I wanted to talk with you. Okay, so he was already in the interview process, but commenting on that content said that either somebody had pointed it out to him or he was doing it somehow another way, but he checked it out before that interview. So it's still just another way of doing it.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Elena.
I forgot to mention one more thing with open banner. If you have it for a while, I am in a job search for a year. You do have to keep it, take it down for a week and then repost it because it gets old and it's no longer comes in the searches.
Okay, so actually you're right. I would take it down, but you don't actually need to take it down for a full week. You can actually take it down even for just a couple of hours. But I would recommend that you take it down for overnight and then put it back up again.
How often should we do that?
That I don't know, David. I think that you can do that however you like. I would say do it once a month.
Once a
just
month.
to refresh it. Okay, Lori.
Hi, Linda. Thanks for putting me on the stage. Appreciate everyone's comments, and thank you, Linda, for bringing up these really key topics. The Open to Work banner, I don't know if it works or not. I've had mine on forever. I haven't taken it off or sampled with it. But in regards to getting spam, I just delete things. It's like everything else in your junk box. You get all the spam in your emails. I just hit delete. And posting content. I'm in these other job groups, and everybody I know who's gotten a job in the last 4 months, it's all due to their content on their LinkedIn profiles. That's how these recruiters, these interviewers, these hiring managers have found these people. They're not in my sector. I'm in the nonprofit sector, and for some reason, nonprofit doesn't go on LinkedIn a lot. I don't know, they're just a little bit different. So I'm also pivoting to, I need money in the bank. So I'm going for the holiday jobs right now to do that avenue, like Linda and all the other people have suggested, do whatever it takes. And I'm looking at it as an opportunity, because who knows who I'll meet when I'm working at Macy's this Christmas. So you do whatever you need to do to keep your mindset positive and the money flowing in. And that's how I'm looking at this job world. And yes, with AI, I don't know if it's going to take a LinkedIn class or if it's something that you have to be creative. I saw somebody putting a AI and I just mimicked her. I'm like, well, where did she get this thing? And it's just some LinkedIn tool, and it looks really cute and fancy. And it's just an AI storybook that she borrowed from LinkedIn. But to a recruiter, it's going to be like, oh, this person knows AI. So what you do is you just borrow, copy, and steal from other people's posts. Easy peasy.
Well, just be careful. Please don't steal.
Well, I'm not saying steal. I'm saying like it's a LinkedIn. So I went into read her story, and at the end of it, it was sponsored by this LinkedIn. And because I'm a LinkedIn premium member, I have access to that software tool.
Yes.
And maybe I have to spend $5 to get it for a day. I'll spend the $5 and I can create my own tool. It's like a Canva, but it looks like an AI tool. So then somebody's going to be like, oh, this person is very creative. And I know this person's just like me looking for a job. I already know her. And I'm like, she created something easy. So why can't I? I'm just as smart as these other people who are looking for jobs.
Exactly right. So take advantage of every single tool that you can think about. By the way, would you do me a favor, Lori? I know you're in our private group. So either in the chat or in the private group, can you add that link so that people can find it? Okay, perfect. Okay, Austin.
Hi, Linda. Is it okay to ask a question off topic, but still about?
Sure.
So I have as we're sitting here, I just got a email for an interview, and they had my resume from February, and it's been updated many times. Should I send them an updated resume, or should I go with what they had back in February?
I would send them an updated.
And just write a note and say it's been updated, please see attached updated.
I'm really excited about all of this, and just wanted to send you some additional information.
Okay. Perfect.
Uh-huh.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Okay.
I'm sorry, Linda. I just wanted to say one more thing about the open to work and getting some of that spam. I look at it and I think of it sort of as dating, right? You either go out to a bar or go out to an event and you try to meet a bunch of people, and some you're interested in, some you're not, and vice versa. Or you rely entirely on your network of friends and make it their job to find something for you to do. And I listen to a lot of security podcasts, and, I'm always hesitant to leave my email or my phone number out there, but it's the trade-off of being able to be contacted for a job that I'd like to get one day. And I'm willing to risk that if I make sure other aspects of my life are maybe, I'm not buying gift cards for anybody, or I report the spam I get on my phone or whatever it is. But I look at that as sort of, the cost of looking for that work is you're willing to be available.
And I think you're absolutely right. And if you're concerned, by the way, you can always put together an email address just for your job search. It's the only thing you're using it for. It's your name at Gmail, and add some extra numbers or letters there if you like. But the idea is, if you can't be contacted, you're doing yourself a disservice. So you get to choose how that works best for you. My feeling is you really want to do that. All right, now that said, I want to do a couple of little things first. And let's talk about what we started to talk about today, which is that idea of how do you show up as your best self in these kinds of meetings. So I'm going to go back to my gallery view for just a moment. Okay. When you're on screen, we've talked about the fact that whether you're doing a networking event, whether you're doing any kind of LinkedIn Learning, whether you're doing some of these meetings, whatever it is, if you can show up on screen, you become much more of that real person that we want to know, like, and trust. And I'm looking at the screen, and I love the fact that for so many of you who are on screen, you really have yourself well centered in that box, which is great. I don't remember who did it at one point, but they called it the Zoom salute. Exactly. So if you put your hand at the top of your head, okay, what you're trying to do is, this is where you should be in terms of centered in your box. Your background might be important, that's okay, but we really want to see you, okay? This is the networking, this is the you're the person kind of thing that we really want to see. So if you're way back here, right, we can't see you. We want to focus in on you. So anytime you're in one of these meetings, always make sure that you're setting yourself up in the room so that you can do that, okay? That's number one. Number two, and here's an easy one. You all are really good about using the chat, about adding your information in there, and that's fantastic. But I'm still seeing too many of you who are adding too much information. We're not going to read it all, okay? You know that unfortunately we're in the age of tweets and sound bites, okay, and all of the rest of that. And so what happens is people stop reading. If you want to be able to put some of that information in there so that people can read it, this is like your teaser. This isn't everything about you. You want to make sure that your LinkedIn URL is there so that we can connect with you. And by the way, whether you are doing it here or elsewhere, that LinkedIn URL gives you the opportunity to connect with everybody else here in the chat. It gives you the opportunity to connect with everyone else here. And so the idea is you don't have to waste, if you've got them, okay, those 5 connection messages a month. You're already part of this group. If you go to the chat or to the private group and you haven't connected with people here, you can connect with people from there as well. But make sure that your LinkedIn URL in any of these meetings is a clickable link. And that you tell people, if you can, if you're willing to do it, to let people connect with you. We really want to be able to do that. It's a very good thing to be able to do. It broadens your network. Now, if you're doing a LinkedIn audio room, okay, I don't do those. I like the interaction. But if you're doing a LinkedIn audio room, you can connect, you can see the profiles of everyone who's actually in that room with you. You can no longer see everybody who's registered, and that's okay. But you can see all of those people who are actually in the room with you. And if you go to their name and you go to the top right by their name, you'll see some, I think it's 3 or 4 dots. If you hover over that, one of the things says view profile. And you can view their profile, you can connect with them, you can send them a message, assuming, of course, that both you and they have that open message on. It's another way of building that network, that connection, because you already have something in common. Now, whether it's in an audio room, whether it's in a room like this one, making those comments, okay, or a LinkedIn Live of any kind, those LinkedIn comments in that room helps to make you that known person. It takes you from just the background to the person I want to get to know, the person who has something to contribute, whether it's a question, whether it's an answer, whether it's an idea. It helps make you that person we want to know. And it's not just a matter of adding numbers to your connection list. It's a number of building those relationships. And those comments here, those comments on screen here, however it is you're doing it, even if you're just writing a comment in the chat or in the group messaging for some of those rooms, still makes you that known person. And that's exactly what you want to do. Because the more we know you, the more we see you, the more we get that connection, the more likely we are to build those relationships. And you honestly never know where those go. So those are always good things. Want to talk about the chat again for, yes, Mike or Mark.
Yeah, I have a question. So it seems like I tried to view profile. Half of people on this call I can see, and the other half I can't. It says, so the error message I'm getting is, well, it's something like it's not in your organization, or so, well, hold on, you can't view this participant's profile card because this person is either not logged in or not in your organization. I want to make sure I'm not that person. How do I make sure I'm not? Like, what do they mean by that? Not logged in or not in your organization?
Interesting. Okay. So,
yeah. So
Mark,
here's a
let
good
me
example.
just interrupt for a minute.
Yeah, go for it.
Linda.
Mhm.
Mark, are you
Please.
talking about clicking the Zoom chat name and connecting,
Correct.
or
Yeah, the three
LinkedIn?
dots. The three dots on, I'm seeing Charles right now, right? I'm clicking view profile. I think I'm connected with him. And it says I can't view his profile card. I don't know what that means, but
I'm not sure what you're looking at. So are you in the participant section?
I'm on his picture. I'm on his video, on his picture, right? In this chat, in this Zoom meeting.
Yeah.
And I'm clicking on the three dots. And it says view profile or chat.
So, Mark,
That's only within.
I think there are two things going on. One, we're all in, if you're using Zoom, which I think you are, Zoom wants you to add the people you want to see the profiles of to your Zoom contact list.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Build out your Zoom social network.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think you would see more information. So if I go to click on the three dots to add you, it says add as a contact, and once you accept, then you can see more.
Okay.
So I'm sending you a Zoom connection request.
I got it. Okay.
And
Yep,
then
I see it.
if you accept that, you should be able to see more of me,
Got it.
what you did. So
Okay.
if I click on you and say view profile, I can now see your local time. It looks like you're on the Eastern Seaboard, and I see an email address.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt there.
No, that was a very good point. So the difference is between Zoom and LinkedIn. Okay. So on LinkedIn, you can just go to the top corner of that person's picture and it will take you to their profile if they've made that available. Here, it's that Zoom client, it's entirely different. That's why the chat becomes so important and why that full LinkedIn URL becomes so important. Okay.
Okay. I missed that. You were
That's
talking about
okay.
LinkedIn, not Zoom. Sorry.
That's okay. Lisa.
I just had one question about where to look. I think normally I was realizing I just look in, like right now, if I'm looking in your eyes, my eyes look like this. But then I heard somebody say, look in the camera. Like, so if I'm talking, do I look like this right to the camera as opposed to looking into your eyes?
It's a tough one, especially when we're talking about a gallery kind of a view, right? I know I personally have a tendency to do the Brady Bunch thing. I look around the screen. But what you can do is see whether you can focus in on the camera. Right now, Lisa, you're looking as if you are looking in my eyes.
Right now I am? Okay, because I am looking in your eyes. But if I look this way and I'm looking at the camera.
It depends on where your camera is. So play with it. One of the nice
Okay.
things about something like Zoom is that you don't have to have a paid account to just play with it. So go in, set up a free meeting, see where your eyes go. And what I recommend sometimes is putting a little sticky note behind the camera where you want to focus. It gives you that way of looking at it.
Okay. Yeah, and I meant really for interviews, not necessarily for the big gallery, but yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, good. Thanks.
Deb.
One suggestion that I had when I used to be interviewing candidates when I was wearing my recruiter hat, I would do like a split screen somehow and try to put us side by side so that like one on top of the other so that I was able to look at them and the camera and myself at the same time. I take that back. That was for something different. But I would always try to put them centered and try it that way. Because like right now I'm looking at the camera, but now I'm looking at me and you. Never mind, I digress. Sorry.
It's okay. It's hard to know where to look. Absolutely. That's absolutely true. So Zoom does, as an example for Zoom, it gives you the options of how to set up your screen. So you can do it in gallery view, okay, where everybody's on the screen at the same time. You can do it in speaker mode, which means that the person who is speaking is in the center of your screen and everybody else is off to the side. If you're concerned about seeing yourself on screen, and there's some people who are uncomfortable with that, if you go back into that view, you can say hide self view. So that the only people you see would be everybody else on the screen. Strictly up to you what you're most comfortable with. I usually like either the gallery mode or the speaker mode. When I'm doing one-on-one, I like the speaker mode because I want to be able to focus in on them rather than on everybody else. And I have that Brady Bunch look. Okay, I go to everybody. But that is another way of doing it.
I am going to share a link. I have no stake or horse in this race, but I did see, and I know people make these small plexiglass arms that you sort of hang down in the middle of your screen and put your camera on. So as you stare at the middle of your screen, you're looking, it overlays so it doesn't really obscure too much of the screen. I just pasted an Etsy link. Somebody sells them professionally for like $100 on Amazon.
Yeah.
I saw this one for $25 off of Etsy. I don't know the person. I haven't tried it. I have seen them talked about in the past as a way of always looking in the middle of the screen.
Great idea. I love the idea of being able to share some of these resources. I think it's wonderful. Okay. Last thing, because we're about to run out of time. And by the way, if anybody is interested, I'm happy to stay for a small group networking session or two. If anybody wants to do that, we can do that as well. But the idea is in that comments, make sure that you are making those salient comments. Make sure that you are connecting with people. You already have that. But the most important thing is when you're on screen, look at the camera, look at the other people who are there, participate, be active, and use that chat because that chat really is your best friend. Don't just use it to put one piece of information out there and be done. Make sure that you're giving us enough information so that we want to contact you, and use the chat as a way of forwarding the discussion. Now, when we're done today, I'm going to put this one in our private group. So make sure if you haven't requested that it's there. But it's another way of helping to make yourself that person we want to get to know, like, and trust. It's an underutilized resource. Okay. We often just use it. Here's our stuff, and then it's done. But it's that opportunity to help you become that commenter, that person. And if you're doing it on a Zoom meeting, the person who's running the meeting is going to come back and comment back at you.
So don't just put in your LinkedIn address like I did today. Put some other stuff in there. It's a reason to.
Okay. But
maybe
short.
that's what my connection's on. Trail me off.
We want it to be short. If it's a long something, we're not going to read it. If it's longer than probably 50 words, it's much too long. Okay. So you want to figure out a way to do it in a much shorter way Once you connect with people, you can give them that additional information. In our private group, you can give them the additional information. But in a meeting like this, whether it's on Zoom, whether it's a LinkedIn Live, whatever it is, you really want to be able to give us that teaser. Okay, that one thing that we want to know about you so that we can ask for more information. Okay. All right. So I'm noticing a couple comments in the chat. Functional resumes versus chronological. We will do that. I'm not sure whether it'll be next week, but we absolutely will. Thank you. And my quick answer is chronological resume every single time. We can talk about why, but chronological every single time. Okay. All right. Is anybody interested in doing some networking? By the way, thank you all for this. It was a great session. If you have ideas for other sessions, in the chat, please put in all caps, idea or future and a topic idea. If you have questions we didn't answer, in all caps, question, and then tell me what it is. Want to make sure these ideas, these sessions, useful for all of you. Perfect. Okay. All right. Thank you all. That really helps me. So I will do this at the end. Now I'm going to turn off the recording.